Hello and welcome to the Big Blue Breakdown, the Game Balls and Gassers edition for the New York Giants and their 27-22 home loss to the Washington Commanders. It's the fourth defeat in a row for the Giants. They are now 2-7 on the season, and they are 0-4 in the NFC East, despite the fact that offensively, they scored at least 20 points for only the third time this year. Now, before we get to the specifics on offense, defense, and special teams, and name our game balls and our gassers, as always, we go over some generalities about the game, but there are no generalities this time. There are actually three specific plays that each one was as critical as could possibly be to the outcome of this contest. And so we start in the third quarter. We're going to bypass the first half. It's 21-7 Washington. And yeah, there were some plays there we could talk about. But let's just go here. The Commanders are up by 2 full scores. And they're getting the ball to start the third quarter. And the Giants hold them 3 and out, giving the offense a chance to at least crawl back into the game. And the Giants do. They take the punt inside their own 25, and they march all the way downfield and threaten the Commanders. This despite the fact that the Giants gave up a sack, and they also had a drop pass. They worked extremely hard to get down into Washington territory. We're going to set it up for you. 4th and 1 at the Commanders' 3. Daniel Jones throws an apparent touchdown pass to Wan'Dale Robinson on the right side, wide open in the end zone. And you think that the Giants have made it a one-score game, and now you've got yourselves a battle again. Not the case. The Giants get called for offensive pass interference. The officials wipe the touchdown off the board, move the Giants back to the 13, and they settle for a field goal. Now it's a 21-10 game, and the Giants are still down by 2 scores. No, it didn't totally wipe out the Giants' drive, but for all practical purposes, it did. Because even though they get 3 points, they are still 2 scores down. Huge play. Now let's dissect it for just a second. Darius Slayton is wide right out of the formation. Wan'Dale Robinson is inside his left hip. Slayton runs an inside slant and contacts the Washington defensive back, Ngbianagahe. Robinson runs an out route to the right side of the end zone and loses St. Jude. That's why he's got space to catch the touchdown pass. Now, the official on the goal line, right in front of the play, immediately signals touchdown for the Giants, sees no infraction, and Jones and company have achieved exactly what they desired. But a late flag comes in from the back right corner of the end zone, where that official decides to call offensive pass interference on Slayton. Now, to understand why, remember, Slayton and the defensive back made contact. Now, usually there's a dispute between offensive and defensive coaches on this, right? When there's contact on this play, it is offensive pass interference if the offensive player intentionally blocks and picks, like in basketball, picks the defensive player off to prevent him from having a realistic chance to get out into coverage. If the offensive player is simply running his route and there is incidental contact, well then offensive coaches prefer to call that a rub route, And most often, that will not be called a penalty. So the judge in the back right corner of the end zone obviously felt that Slayton had picked the defensive back, that it was obvious in his eyes that Slayton had thrown a block instead of incurring incidental contact on his route. That play is always going to have a very wide gray area. In this case, the official further from the play, not the one who had the play right in front of him, saw it in Washington's favor. And so it is not a one-score game. It is still a two-score game at that point. We go to the fourth quarter, 8.5 minutes to play. 24-16 Washington. The Giants have cut it to a one-score game. Now, at this time, we set it up for you. Jones has run in for a touchdown. Stadium is rocking. Giants have some momentum. Commanders take the ball from their own 35-yard line after a kickoff return. And 3 plays into the drive, it's 3rd and 9 from the Washington 38. Huge defensive stop opportunity for the Giants. Instead, they give up a massive 28-yard completion to Austin Eckler down to the Giants 36, which now puts Washington on the fringe of scoring range again. And obviously, even a field goal at this point makes it a 2-score game once again. Huge, huge, huge play. The sharpest dagger, I believe, that Washington jabbed into the Giants' side all day. Now, why did this play happen? Washington runs an empty backfield and they send 5 out. The Giants rush 5. Now, Dexter Lawrence and Armon Watts actually get penetration and get into Jaden Daniels' face, the quarterback. But he had a deep setup in the pocket. So he's able to quickly get the ball off to Eckler, who leaks out, and from the right side of the Commanders' defense, runs a crossing route to the left. It's a short route. And he has wide open space to settle in. Takes the pass, runs up the left side, where Tyler Nubin comes racing in and misses a tackle at the Washington 45. He could have held the play for an 8-yard gain and a first down at the sticks at the Commanders' own 45-yard line. Then the defense could reset, and you still don't know how that drive would have ended up. But here's the problem. Nubin misses the tackle, and with open space in front of him, Eckler is able now to get to the Giants' 45, where Adoree Jackson grabs a hold of his jersey, and Eckler continues to fight forward before Dre Phillips comes submarining in and knocks him down at the Giants' 36. So that's how the play happened. Now, I think it was the perfect offensive play for the setup that the Giants were in. First of all, Daniels did a great job getting rid of the ball quickly because the pressure was right in his face. So great execution by Daniels on the play. Now, Banks had been run off deep into the secondary by McLaurin. He's following his guy, and he's got him wrapped up. Nubin was opposite Eckler in the Giants' defense, but 15 yards deep. By the time Eckler ran the short crossing route to the left of the Commanders' defense, Nubin had to come down and all the way diagonally across the field to try to get to him. Now, it's hard to say what his initial pre-snap assignment was. But at that point, he's kind of in no man's land when the ball gets released by Daniels. Newbin closes and then misses the tackle after what would have only have been an 8-yard gain and a Washington first down at the Commanders' 45. So the missed tackle is incredibly critical. But I also want to give credit to the Commanders for executing against that defensive setup, finding the hole and finding the yardage to make the play happen in the first place before the missed tackle. All right, now it's late in the fourth quarter, about 2 minutes to go, 27-22 Commanders. And the Giants had just scored a touchdown. Theo Johnson taking a pass from Daniel Jones. The place is rocking. The Giants have 3 timeouts left. And they're in a position, as they have been many times in the past month, to get the ball back for their offense in a one-score game with an opportunity to potentially win it. What happens? Washington comes up with a huge play. 2nd down and 9 from their own 31-yard line. A 42-yard pass from Daniels to a wide open Zacchaeus. Brings it down to the Giants 27. You don't need me to explain it to you here because now they are in field goal range. Giants have to use a timeout. If Washington gets the field goal, it's still only 30-22 and an 8-point game. And if the Giants can hold, they would at least get the ball back. And do I dare say have a Hail Mary's chance? Obviously ironic since that's what Washington used to beat Chicago the previous week. But to have a Hail Mary chance to at least potentially tie the game? Well, that's not what happens, obviously, because Washington runs out the clock with a 55-yard drive as they just pound the ball into the Giants defense. But I want to talk about the 42-yard pass play to Zacchaeus because that's the killer play of the drive. The Giants rush 5 against an 8-man protection scheme. Only 2 men leak out into pass routes from the left side of the defense. Banks is on Dynami Brown. He trails him downfield on a clear out, go route. And it looks as though that McFadden and Newbin are supposed to watch anything underneath on the left side of the Commanders' defense. Rodriguez is the running back. He kind of sneaks out into the left flat. It looks like McFadden may be responsible for him. But Newbin hesitates and eyes up Rodriguez, joining McFadden in that responsibility, and does not track Zacchaeus, who then finds a wide open hole in the Giants defense. And it wasn't hard for Daniels to find him on the 42-yard pass play. A crippling play that really solidified the Commanders' victory. In fact, it was the longest play of the day. All right. Those are the key turning points that resulted in the Giants' defeat. Now we go to our game balls and gassers. Game balls on offense for the Giants. I'm going to quarterback Daniel Jones. 20 of 26 for 174 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. The Giants only dropped 2 passes on him this week, which for them is a very low number. And how about the touchdown that Daniel Jones took into the end zone 2-yard run, capping off a 13-play, 80-yard drive that made it 24-16 with 9.5 minutes left in the game as he plowed through Fowler and Sainristil. Linebacker and defensive back. And Jones fought through both and would not be denied as he ran around the left side of the Giants offense and forced his way into the end zone. And then, later on, as Washington continued to try to pull away, Jones came back again, this time throwing a 35-yard touchdown pass to rookie tight end Theo Johnson on a seam route. Remember Sims to Bavaro years ago? Caps a 4-play, 74-yard drive that took only 58 seconds off the clock and brought the Giants back to within 27-22, giving them life, giving them another opportunity if they could just get the ball back in his hands. But it was not to be. So Daniel Jones gets my offensive game ball for this week. Defensively, can't give any game balls out. Washington was 2 for 2 on 4th and 1 conversions. Both were runs. Each one was in the middle of a touchdown drive. And obviously, we've already talked about 2 turning points in the game where the Giants' defense was on the field. So no game balls on defense this week. Special teams. Rookie kicker Jude McAtamney from Rutgers. 4 of his 5 kickoffs were touchbacks. He hit his only field goal from 31 yards out with 5.5 left in the third quarter. That did make it 21-10. We talked about that scenario earlier. He was also 1 for 1 on PATs. So McAtamney, who was activated only because Greg Joseph, the veteran kicker, had come down with a sore oblique just 48 hours earlier, comes through. So McAtamney gets the special teams game ball for this week. All right, gassers on offense. 8.5 minutes left in the first quarter, and the entire offense on the field at the moment is going to get my gasser. Now, why? It's a 0-0 game, Giants' second possession of the afternoon. Daniel Jones suffers a strip sack. Ball pops out of his hand, goes forward, bounces off of a commander, and then bounces backwards. Fowler was the edge rusher. It was ruled a fumble on the strip sack. Chris Hubbard, the left tackle, was beaten off of the edge. But as the ball bounces backwards, Bobby Wagner, the Commanders linebacker, winds up picking it up at the 31 of Washington. And then, of course, runs it in. Well, one official decided to wave it off as an incompleted pass, and that's why Washington was not allowed to advance the ball for a touchdown. They simply gave them possession at the Giants' 31. But here's the point. Yes, one official did wave it off as an incomplete pass, but there was no whistle blown. And the other officials all raced down to follow the ball as if it was a fumble. And only Devin Singletary, who in my opinion avoids the gasser, and every other player on that offense should have to take the gasser, only Devin Singletary ran his butt off to try to get that fumble as it went all the way into Giants territory. Think about it. The ball wound up going 40 yards in the other direction. It was as if it was a punt before Wagner was able to gain possession at the Giants' 31. So it becomes a 40-yard turnover, which of course also took the Giants away from a scoring opportunity. But it was Devin Singletary. Now maybe it's because he was only the first one to see the ball squirt free. And because maybe he didn't see the one official waving the play off. But whatever the reason, there was no whistle. And Singletary was the one Giant who got on his motorcycle and did everything he could to get downfield after that ball. So no gasser for Singletary, but a gasser for everybody else on offense on the field at that time. And yes, I know the receivers were running routes downfield, so we'll excuse them too. All right. My gasser on defense. The entire defense. Let's make it real simple here. 2.5 minutes to go. Washington milks the clock. We've already told you about the Zacchaeus play. 9 plays, 55 yards. All but one of the plays was a run. Can't happen. Washington finishes with 149 yards rushing on the afternoon, and they hit 5 big plays of at least 20 yards. It's been a recurring theme for the Giants D all year. As good as they've been on the pass rush, and by the way, they didn't have any sacks on this day. Big plays have hurt this team time and time again. So the entire defense gets the gasser off of this game. On special teams, hate to do it, but we're going to go to Nick McLeod. 5.5 minutes left in the second quarter. Punt goes down to the Washington 2-yard line. And McLeod, as the gunner, is obviously the first one there. He usually is. And he has a chance to tackle Zacchaeus. But Zacchaeus gets away. It's only an 8-yard return to the Washington 13. But there is a difference in what an offense will do from its playbook from the 13-yard line instead of its own 2. Backed up at the 2, there's a lot of stuff they're not even going to think about doing. And McLeod, who is a really terrific gunner, had a chance to stop Zacchaeus in his tracks right at the catch and missed the tackle. So I'm nitpicking here a little bit, but I'll have to give Nick McLeod the gasser on special teams on this day. So the Commanders beat the Giants 27-22. And we will be back once again with another edition of the Big Blue Breakdown live Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time to take your video calls, your audio calls, and your chats as we continue to discuss New York Giants football. They'll be heading to Munich, Germany on Thursday night to take on the Carolina Panthers. Until then, I'm Paul Dottino, and we'll see you next time on the Big Blue Breakdown.